People, welcome. Monday, November 28th, 2016, and welcome to a very, very important, very special edition of Trends in the Housing Market. It is I, Mike Martins, bringing you the news from around the world that is affecting our markets. And thanks for the links. And some of the links I can't open, or some of the links get erased. Some stories get up and they get taken down. Anyways, I got a good show lined up. It's the last week of November. I've been really busy at the shop, getting things ready, getting things lined up. And you know, when you're selling games and fun stuff, it's really good. It's really good that you're selling happiness. You know what I'm saying? And I feel great when the kids come in and they leave happy, and parents come in and they leave happy, and Secret Santas. Oh, I love it. Anyways, let's get down to some of this very important news here. We're going to start off in China. This is a good one in China. China to issue strict controls on overseas investment. Mind you guys, 70 to 80% of China's wealth of the country is invested in foreign investment. A lot of people don't know that. Beijing, China plans to clamp tighter controls on Chinese companies seeking to invest overseas, in an effort to show a surge in capital fleeing offshore. According to people with direct knowledge of a matter and documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal, the State Council Canada-China cabinet is set to announce soon a series of measures that would subject many overseas deals to stricter regulator oversights, the people said. So even China is starting to feel the crunch on their end. When the entire wealth of the country is parked outside of the country, it's not good. According to the pending measures reviewed by Wall Street Journal, China's Commerce Minister at the top of the Economic Planning Agency are to impose strict controls over extra large foreign acquisitions valued in $10 billion or more per deal on state-owned companies intending to build, invest properties overseas that are valued $1 billion or more per deal, and overseas Chinese companies seeking to invest $1 billion or more in overseas entities that are related to their core business. Wow. So you gotta imagine, just imagine this. If they're targeting these like billion-dollar companies, it would raise a red flag if there's like several thousand of them doing that. And I'm thinking this is what's going on. There's several thousand companies doing this. The State Council informed that the office didn't immediately respond to the request for comment about the new measures. The new controls underscore Beijing's concern and a surge in money leaving China at the time when the Chinese leadership wants to keep economy on an even keel ahead of the major reshuffle of the top election of the ruling Communist Party leader next year. The new rules, which would be in effect until the end of September, are designed as a temporary tool to stabilize outflows before the reshuffle, the people familiar with the matter said. This is a big deal, guys, because if they start taking down these massive conglomerate corporations that are investing in overseas markets, you're going to see a huge cutback on foreign investment buying. Why? I'm going to tell you why. Donald Trump. Yeah. Donald Trump's coming in and they gotta reshuffle. Let's move on. Let's stick around in China for one more story. So everyone down in the US, open up your ears for this one. Chinese pour $110 billion into US real estate, says study. Investment is set to double in the next 5 years as wealthy rush to get their money into overseas assets, especially houses. Chinese nationals have become the largest foreign buyers of U.S. property after pouring billions into the market in search of offshore assets, according to study. A huge surge in Chinese buying both real estate and commercial real estate last year took their 5-year investment to a total more than $110 billion, according to the study from the Asia Society and Rosen Consultant Group. This is huge, guys. The sheer size of total has helped the real estate market recover from the crash that began in 2006 and precipitated in 2008 economic crisis, they said. Chinese investment in property has also helped to inflate prices in other developed countries, notably the UK and Australia, and in the wake of the dip in the world stock market in 2015. And despite of the shadow due to Beijing's subsequent clampdown on capital outflows, the figure for the second half of this decade is likely to double to 218 billion, the study said. What makes China different and networthy is a combination of high values and investment, and the breadth of the participation across the estate categories, including somewhat unique into residential purchases, says the study. So, this is bad. I don't know how to I want to stop saying the word bad but they're parking their money overseas, and it's been happening, right? There's an influx of money being parked. I know that Silicon Valley, San Francisco, up to San Jose, I know that LA County, parts of LA County are struggling right now with people trying to find rent. People are being evicted unfairly. Rents skyrocketing through the roof, doubling and tripling. And the renter that's been there for 15, 20 years is getting thrown out, and he's been loyal to the owners of their place, to their landlords. And this is what's happening. So the surge in properties, a lot of Chinese firms are moving offices into the United States to bring in investors and bust them around town and show them what's for sale. So this is a big deal, guys. So let's see what happens. With Donald Trump, I don't know how much is this going to affect. If Donald Trump's going to put a stop to this, we don't know. So let's continue. Feeling good today, guys. How you feeling? Feeling good. All right. We got to go down to San Diego because this is a big story down there. Made the front page of one of their papers. Affordable housing frustrations mount in San Diego. It's a big deal. You can't live somewhere, you can't go to work, and you can't go to work, you can't pay taxes, Guess what? You have no economy. You're not exporting. When you're not exporting, you're going to war. California's affordable housing crisis has proven difficult to address. The new housing stock is now being added fast enough to slow down the rising cost of rent. The recent Union Tribune Data Watch story reported that billions of taxpayer dollars have been spent on affordable housing in San Diego. Since the San Diego Housing Commission was launched in 1979 without the net increase in such housing and the latest frustrating evidence of the fertility in California approach to keeping housing costs down. That's very important, guys. To address the state's severe housing crisis, Californians need far more housing stock, not programs to create and appearance of addressing the problem and actually doing so. That's a really good one. Stop making these programs where people get together, meet, and then raise money for the program, and then when it comes to actually doing it, they don't do squat. So they raise, you see what I'm saying? It's like raising money to send a shuttle to the moon, but you don't send the shuttle to the moon for some reason, but you keep the money. The Data Watch report found that past 6 years, the city allowed 10,000 units to be demolished, converted into otherwise removed from low-income housing stock, equal to the number of the Housing Commission has opened in its 37-year history. Remarkably, Commissioner President CEO Richard Gentry says that it doesn't track the number of affordable housing units removed from the city's inventory because the responsibility is not cited in his agency's charter. Oh, of course it isn't in your charter. Here, man. That one's got some wetness to it. I think you better check your underwear on that one. It's not in your charter. Put it in your charter. Stop this. So it's basically what I'm seeing here is a bunch of all these let's raise money for homelessness and let's not do nothing about it. That's happened a lot. Let's move off to Australia right now. This is a good one. This was sent to me by someone. Rental affordability index, supply not meeting demand from low-income tenants. Huge number newly constructed apartments along Australia's east coast are sitting empty, despite more people sleeping rough on the streets. Frustrating housing affordability advocates say governments are yet to properly address the issue. The Rental Affordability Index released on Wednesday has again illustrated that Australia's grown rental inequality index, and co-author National Shelters Executive Director Adrian Pisarki said that although more supply had recently come onto the market, particularly in Melbourne, many new properties were not available to rent. So a lot of them were basically left empty. Go to Silicon Valley, come here to Vancouver. Empty. Many foreign investors, significant contributors to apartment construction, probably intended to just park money in Australia's property, he said. Some off-plan properties also come with rental guarantee, which is meant that it might not be leased for a few years. That's why. Up to 90% of properties are empty in some Sydney most desirable suburbs, according to the analyst by the UNSWS City Features Research Centre. As many of the fifth all investment properties were vacant in Melbourne, a study of water usage and by Proposer Australia shows. So, again, houses are being left open. They're catching it with energy bills, water bill, like they said here. Usage is zero. Why? This is absolutely. It's. I can understand buying the homes and then just renting them out. I propose to. I was thinking about this the other day when I was sitting on the toilet. They should create something called maybe like Australia's Renter's Guide. And what they do is it's an office that basically works with foreign investors to get their properties rented out. But the investors themselves do not have to deal with the tenants ever. So you have an office, like an office rental agency like Vancouver Rental Housing. And all they do is it's a private company. It's not by the government. And then they take applications. So what they do is they get a bunch of foreign investors that own property to say, okay, I got 6 properties, I got 5, I got 3. Go ahead and list them. I don't want nothing to do with anything. I just want to be able to sell it when I want to sell it. That's it. The place gets rented out. It gets used. And for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and then you make the income off the rent. I mean, this is very basic, right? But I think if there was like an Australia Renters Guide or Melbourne Renters Association, and then basically not bidding on rent, not bidding on the highest renter, just putting out there what's available for rent through vis-a-vis foreign investors, whether from China, Malaysia, wherever they're from, Saudi Arabia, wherever they're from. And this way, the investors don't need the headache. And then this company basically has it rented out, collects the rent, collects everything, makes sure, does the evictions if needed, and then you don't have this problem. So, I don't know. I'm just putting my 2 cents out there. I have no education, so I'm just kind of, thinking outside the box, right? Listen to this one. Back in Australia, Sydney. Sydney's 1-bedroom apartments becoming out of reach for first home buyers. You're supposed to start in a little 1-bedroom shack and then move up to a 2-bedroom bungalow and then a 3-bedroom house, 4-bedroom house with a pool. Where's the dream? How studio apartments become the new one better. Investors and first home buyers fight it out in inner city studio apartments in high demand. First home buyer forks out $915,000 for a 1-bedroom unit in Kirribilli. Yeah, Kirribilli spelled with a K, by the way. Kirribilli. People from Australia watching this. This must be like the Beverly Hills of Australia for somebody to fork out $915 large for a 1-bedroom, but they're saying it's a studio. The median price for a one-bedroom apartment in Sydney soared 200 large in 4 years, leaving first-home buyers bleak. Situation where even entry-level homes were becoming out of reach, new data. The new median of 630 large means that more first-time buyers are becoming illegible for the Stumpy Dumpy concessions designed to help them enter the market, currently capped at 650 large on new homes. And it says in quotations, the price. It's really considered affordable for the first-time buyer, said Tash Singh, co-founder of lobby group First Home Buyers of Australia. And this is, I don't even know how to put this into, like, it's crap. 650 large for a house? Or what is it? What is it made out of gold? Does it have like gold leafing on it? Did Gene Simmons live in there for a decade or something? Why is it worth so much money? What, I mean, the Vanilla Ice steel patio furniture for it? Like, why? What's going on? Anyways, let's keep going. Let's move on to Canada. And yeah, I'm pretty choked that, one bedrooms. But I'm getting a lot of messages from my friends down under. They're telling me the same thing. They're telling me the same thing. And they're saying that it's really hard to get into anything without big bucks. Like, we're talking big bucks. I mean, if the government isn't going to step in like here in Canada where they're implementing measures to fix the problem, I strongly consider that Australians recolonize another part of Australia. I'm sorry. I mean, some land's unlivable. Every land's unlivable till you start living there, right? Maybe move into the interior or move into the south part of... I don't know the geography of Australia, but if you move south, maybe west, maybe north by Darwin, and maybe move a little bit further west of Darwin, and then colonize a new part, and then just open a first bank, open this, open that, put some condos out there, maybe start mining for something out there and start creating a boom. I mean, anyways, Hamilton, Ontario. Housing prices will keep driving locals away, says CMHC. And this is from today. As housing prices go up and full-time jobs go down, Hamiltons are moving to the outlying areas like Brantford, St. Catharines, Caledonia, Cambridge, just to be able to afford a house. And a senior market analyst with the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, CMHAC, says that the migration trend is only going to continue. Abdul Kargobu, speaking to the National Housing Day event Friday, said that Hamilton houses will only get less affordable in the coming years, and that comes just as there are fewer full-time jobs here. The market of Hamilton, Burlington, Grimsby area is overheated, meaning wages and employment rates aren't keeping up with housing prices, and CMHAC red flagged it's problematic this year. That's not about to change, Carbogo said. Meanwhile, the price gap between a house in Toronto and Hamilton will only keep widening, which driving Torontonians here. That's what's happening. All the surrounding cities, or 40 minutes to an hour outside the city, guess what? People are moving there. Will only keep winding, which is driving Torontonians here, he said during a presentation at National Housing Day Friday. In 2001, for example, there was $79,000 difference between a house in Toronto versus a house in Hamilton. In 2016, it's almost $228,000. So Hamilton's feeling all the cities outside Toronto, all the major cities. I know Mississauga, Brampton, and Oakville. Those three major cities. Mississauga, Brampton, and Oakville. 20 minutes outside of Toronto. Housing is just out of control there. This is a good one. Housing prices are hurting Canada's middle class, OECD warns. But you know what? There's no more middle class. It's poor class. It's poor working poor. Sorry. It's called the working poor now. Canada's economy is on the upswing. The Canadian households remain vulnerable because the debt and the high housing prices, according to the latest report on the economy by the Organization of Economic, Corporate and Development. The Paris-based intergovernmental agency said Canada's economy has adjusted to the fall in commodity prices, with activity shifting from the energy to non-energy sectors. It predicted Canadian GDP will grow 1.2%. Really? 1.2%? And 2.1% in 2017. Rates slightly more optimistic than the latest predictions from the Bank of Canada. OCD cuts outlook global economy to Canada's too. Bank of Canada says economic conditions, don't worry, rate change. But it warns the middle-class families in Vancouver and Toronto are being squeezed by the high housing prices, leaving them vulnerable to higher rates and or a correction in prices. It acknowledges recent changes in mortgage rules, which could discourage buyers from entering these expensive markets, but urges regionally focused measures to further help with housing affordability. The report also warns against high levels of consumer debt. See, they're not taking the TDS, the total debt service ratio. They're not factoring in cell phone bills. They're not factoring in car insurance. There's a lot of things they don't factor in the total debt service ratio. So they only take, like I said before in a few past videos, talking about this stuff. They're not factoring in all the factors, and that's why people are left with $9 a month for food. Like I said, unless the money's coming from heaven and the money's coming down and, they're getting some support, I don't know. Crafting the narrative. Real estate bulls in full force. Oh, this one's cut off. Despite the Home Bidders Association saying that there is no bubble, housing fell 25% year over year in Vancouver, while BC dropped 25%. Apparently the numbers of their cult did not echo the same feelings. More and more starts plummeting, and most developers pump the brakes on new construction. I'm seeing it everywhere. Two of their underlying factors for further price growth and low interest rates and more foreign investing. Meanwhile, while mortgage rates have only gone up in the past few weeks, remember that video I said? I'll leave a link below for that one. Increases on the way. Just 4 months ago, they said that foreign investment wasn't an issue in Vancouver, and it's still not a factor in Toronto. But they are saying that they continue to push the prices up, but implementing the tax won't do anything because foreign buyers don't exist. Remember this? Remember I was talking about this? Recent government stats, Vancouver, say otherwise. Most promotionally enrichment, where foreign buyers went from 25% to just 5% in September. Coincidentally, detached sales are down 48%, 48% since the tax was implemented. Oh, God bless America. Thank you so much. I guess it wasn't the foreigners, they don't exist. Now, we got big problems out. Someone sent me this link. I want to thank them. Manitoba housing sends long-term residents packing. This is long-term residents, like I said in the beginning of the video. Some Winnipeg's most vulnerable people will soon have a home, revamped Manitoba housing complex, but community members want to know why it comes at an expensive or another vulnerable group of people already living in the building. It's almost like we're being forced to metaphorical gunpoint. You either do this or you're done, says Alan Cohern, the resident who has lived at 400 Logan for 35 years. Cohern is one of the lone hold on a stack of signed tenant transfers agreements for 400 Logan, a building that was to be used as transitional housing for homeless people with the mental health challenges. 7 of 8 remaining tenants agreed to vacate the building February 2017 in exchange for assistance to find a new place. The current vacancy of Manitoba housing is about 2%, according to a spokesperson from the department. Low vacancy rate is creating extra stress on residents already struggling to find a new place that meets their needs, including building and wheelchair accessibility. Others concerned about leaving a building they say is safe and ending up in one plagued with drugs, late night parties, and bed bugs. And for those that you don't know, Winnipeg gets very, very cold. It's a city, and just west of Ontario, border of Ontario, just west. It's Manitoba, and Winnipeg is it's extremely cold in the winter. So if you're from Winnipeg, comment below. It's really cold. Extremely cold. And you don't want to be left out when it comes to that. So this is Canada's Public Guardian fails Vancouverites. This one was sent to me 3 times. So residents to Vancouver. So this is Canada's Public Guardians have failed to protect Metro Vancouver residents from forms of rule bending and law breaking that have been significant contributors to the city and housing becoming gravely unaffordable. 2 of the government departments that have let down the city dwellers are Immigration Canada, which for decades did not monitor its business of immigration program, as well as Canada Revenue Agency, which is looked the other way. And look at 2 more supposed guardians, Public Trust, which have been disturbingly impotent in the face of stressific housing costs. They like to use phenomenal words. Canada's anti-money laundering arm, FinTrack, has been largely ineffective if the BC government has for years. So, this is a really good article. It's called Canada's Public Guardians Failed Vancouverites. So, it's got a lot of good comments below. This is a big deal. First Nation housing should be front center and of the National Housing Strategy, chief says. BC's regional chief is calling a federal government to prioritize First Nation housing in its national housing strategy. Yesterday, the federal government released a report detailing that the results of 4 long national consultation on its proposed national housing strategy. According to the report, the majority of Canadians said that the national housing strategy should support those who need affordability housing the most. Low-income and homeless families and individuals. Shane, the BC Regional Chief of Assembly of First Nation, empathized improving conditions of First Nations housing should be front and center of the new strategy. Overcrowding, mold, and old rundown houses are perennial problems on reserves, and Indigenous Canadians are overrepresented in the homeless population, he said. 1 in 5 Indigenous people who live off reserve are homeless on reserves. Okay, and then it goes to say on reserves experience poorer housing compared to non-Indigenous people. So he told the CBC. Homeless group asked Liberals to focus housing plan on poor Indigenous people. 60% of First Nations children on reserve live in property, Institute says. Drinking water on First Nations reserve are ongoing problem, says proposal. It's a big mix-up going on there. And arrests made in Vancouver's tent city in Thornton Park. So tent cities are sprouting up everywhere. I know Seattle is, if you watch Trends in the Market a few episodes back, Seattle is looking to accept tent cities. So is Oregon, Portland. So those 2 cities are looking to accept it and accept it as a norm, that there is going to be, and sometimes being in a organized or regulated tent city, you're better off than being in some of those shelters and being in very sketchy places. Especially if you're a family. So arrests made at Vancouver's newest tent city in Thornton Park is from yesterday. Vancouver police made 7 arrests Friday morning when called to assist park board rangers trying to oust occupants of tent city in Thornton Park at Terminal Avenue and Main Street. City staffing, acting under Parks Control Bylaw, attempted to work with people who had put up tents on the downtown east side after the city of Vancouver started dismantling another homeless camp a few blocks away. Police are called when approximately 15 protesters blocked the park rangers and their attempt to remove the tents. Police were called, they resisted, and the police coming to take 10 people out of the tents, they locked arms and said, Lindsay Washington, advocate of homeless people, it's the city's excuse that we have to dismantle this tent city because there's violence and because it's unsafe. And we're saying that it's unsafe to be homeless, and it's less unsafe to be in a tent city in an alleyway. 4 women and 2 men were arrested, breach of peace. One of the men was arrested for obstruction and resisting arrest. Vancouver police described the 6 or 7 people taken into custody as experienced protesters. What does that even mean, experienced protesters? We take a college course? I wouldn't be surprised. Anyways, guys, I want to wrap things up here with Vancouver, telling you guys what's going on the ground. So, a lot of the houses I'm seeing that are for sale are still for sale. Now, I'm seeing houses added to those houses and added to those houses. So what's happening is you're not seeing, at first you don't see a lot for sale. Then what happens is you get divorces. You get family inheritance. You get deaths. You get all kinds of stuff. And houses need to go on the market. There's that 4% of houses that need to go on the market because there's no occupants, or it's inheritance, or it's a divorce. It's many things, okay? Or a job overseas, or whatever the case. So that's starting to pile up big. So I'm seeing a lot of those unit constructions where they're selling 10 houses in a row to build like low-rise condos and stuff. Okay, for $2 million a pop, $3 million a pop for each house to build low-rise construction units and stuff. Fine, but they're not selling. Okay, it's for sale. Oh yeah, that's for low-rise, investors to build condos and low-rise condos and charge ridiculous strata fees, but they're not selling, so they're just sitting there. Anyways, I'm telling you, it's building up. It's building up. I'm seeing open house signs everywhere. I'm seeing open signs everywhere. I'm seeing just the build-up. And the same houses I followed from months ago, from the new tax when it was implemented, they're still for sale. All of them. All 50, 60 houses I'm following that I used to follow and on a close watch. Now I drive by, do my thing. Still for sale. Hey, look at that. He's still for sale. Hey, how come no one's buying this? There's a big boom here. Well, this is, what do you call it? Free market. Why isn't people buying this stuff? It's going to go up. Yeah, anyways. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Get this video out there. Make it viral. And a big hug to everyone watching. And keep sending me those articles. What's going to happen is go to the top of my page. If you want to message me, go to the top of my page on YouTube. You're going to see a Facebook square. Click it. That's my fan page. Don't panic, because it's not in English, so don't panic. Click message me. I accept messages. I get like 400 messages a day. You go ahead, message me. It's going to do an auto reply. A lot of people freak out when they see a lot of auto replies. It says, Hola, ¿cómo estás? It means, hi, how are you in Portuguese. Anyways, leave me the link that you want me to read or you want me to share, because there's lots out there, and this is affecting the whole world. Anyways, guys, get this video out there. Get it viral. Thanks for watching. Mike Martin's here. Big hug to everyone.